Good afternoon. Thank you for taking your time. One of the things that was interesting to me when I read these questions and these video presentation I was supposed to do talked about staff development. And I really categorize staff development into two different areas. I look at one from a proactive approach, meaning that we're establishing some sort of system or some sort of culture within the school. And so if I'm looking at it from a proactive approach, I really have to kind of focus on getting buy-in right away, really establishing kind of why it's important, what's the reason behind it. The other one is a reactive kind of PD, and so I'm really kind of focusing on the issues or the systems are already there, and so you don't need as much buy-in from the staff because the things have already been kind of established, and so you're really kind of more on a problem solving mode. So for this PD, what I thought about and really was the inclusion piece is setting the tone, and it's going to be from a proactive. So how I would start the PD is I would start with the inclusion in the classroom, practical applications and practices toward inclusion. I always start with the PD with the objective, so that I feel that as we're talking and as we go through, the teachers and the staff are really focusing on what we're trying to learn and what we kind of hope to gain. So our objective today with this training. By the end of the training, staff will be able to verbally or in oral form determine the benefits of inclusion, the differences between inclusion and self-contained, and offer suggestions as to how to make the school a wholly inclusive environment. So those are three areas that I hope to attack when we're kind of talking about our professional development. I've outlined it for the staff, I've outlined it for myself. Benefits of inclusion, we're going to go through the differences between the inclusion and self-contained, and then we're going to kind of take it all the way down to offering suggestions how to make inclusive part of kind of our school and our environment. When I do the PD, I like to really kind of talk about, like, I want an attention grabber, and when we're talking about inclusion, what's the inclusion? What's the debate? Well, the inclusion debate. Within the last few decades, the shift toward more inclusive educational settings has been partially driven by lawsuits and advocacy of persons with disabilities. The primary argument in support of the inclusion of individuals with disabilities has been based on the premise that segregated education is a violation of individual rights. You hear the word segregation when you're talking about education, and you automatically can't help to go back to Brown versus Board of Education. You go back to where separate was not equal. It was determined already by the Supreme Court. So when you're talking about inclusion now, you're looking at that fact from the disability standpoint, that taking students out because they have a disability, you're not providing them the same kind of guaranteed education as they would in an inclusive environment. After that, I would go into kind of more of a benefit cost analysis. So I'm going to put up non-inclusion or self-contained, and I'm going to weigh the differences between what's better in inclusion and non-inclusion, and try and build a buy-in from the staff. Okay? From the inclusion piece, I'm going to look at self-esteem. It's better for the students, better for the students with disabilities, it's better for the students without disabilities in general. It builds a better, healthy intergroup relationship. It's better for a team approach. It's better for a positive outlook on school. Students with disabilities, it's been proven over and over again, when they're in an environment with their peers, they have a positive outlook towards school. It's better for their character development. Once again, non-disabled students and disabled students. Non-inclusion, self-contained. You have isolation. You have individual learning growth, anxiety and fear towards school, stunted growth towards relationship. All those things can be said when you're talking about pulling the student out of his least restrictive environment. After that, I would go into some research. You'll see these research as I forward the PowerPoint to you, but basically they demonstrate the academic improvement. So not only the social aspect or the positive kind of character development piece, but academically, there is research based showing that inclusion is a better model. Okay, it talks about students, how much time they spent, and then their English language assessment scores. Once again, academic-based inclusion. Okay, so we've looked at character development. Now we've also looked at the research base behind academic improvement of inclusion. After that, I really kind of want to go into kind of a co-pilot pilot model. I don't want to be the one that's talking the whole entire time during kind of the PD. So what a co-pilot model looks like, I've kind of set it up over here. We're going to call this the captain's chair or the pilot's chair. And we're going to call these two co-pilot chairs. Okay, we have an article. You can find the article when I show you the PowerPoint. And basically, during the PD, what would happen is we would all read the article. We'd break into teams of 3, and we would go co-pilot, pilot. So you'd have 3 rounds of this. You have 1 round where you're the pilot, and then you have 2 co-pilots, and then you have 2 rounds where you're the co-pilot. During this time, what ends up happening is you have to state facts, and you have to quote the article directly about, in this case, it's inclusion. Your co-pilots can write you notes, and they can pass it to you, but you are the only one verbalizing. Okay, so imagine if we had 30 teachers in this regard. We have 10 co-pilot, pilot kind of formats. We go around the room and everybody has to talk. So we do not switch or rotate the pilot chair until everybody talks. Okay, it's an avid strategy. I think it's very valuable. I think it gets everybody involved kind of when we're really talking about PD. So in this regard, you have to say something. We cannot move on until something is said. And it's empowering for everybody. Right? Everybody has a voice. Following our co-pilot, pilot, we would have a small break. After the break, what we would do is, I want to present a video. I want to show a parent who is also an educator and what she thinks about it. Okay? It's a pretty powerful video. It's a TEDx video. There's the YouTube link. You'll get it in the presentation as well. Okay? And then after that, I mean, there's a reflection piece, you know, listening to really kind of what a parent is talking about, what a parent has gone through. After that, we need to kind of drill down for our school, and we really need to kind of get it isolated about what inclusion looks like and what are the barriers to inclusion at our particular program or our particular school. Okay? And this is an open discussion. Okay? So what we would do, we would post giant Post-its around and probably have kind of a gallery walk where, you know, I need to know why student so-and-so is a barrier in the classroom, or what is a physical barrier that is preventing from this student from learning. All these barriers, and then we need to have a team approach. We need to kind of make sure that we understand the practices and solutions that are in play at Vanguard and at the school to make sure that it is possible and it's able to work. Finally, I want to take away. I want to make sure that the professional development had some relevance for people. Each person would be responsible for an exit ticket. It's kind of like a ticket out of the professional development. You know, take away one piece that you learned. What was one thing that before we started this PD that you didn't know? After this PD you did. And that's different for everyone, and that's okay. Everybody's going to take something different away, but when you piece it all together, you understand that you kind of moved into more of an inclusion model based on your professional development and kind of follow-ups. And speaking of follow-ups, you know, I always look for how I'm going to measure it. So for me, I'm always going to measure pre-observations. I'm going to identify strengths and areas for improvement. And then after the PD, I'm going to look for post-observation. I'm going to look for follow-up trainings. I'm going to create it as part of the evaluation process. You know, we can't just do one PD and then think it sticks. It's got to be kind of an ongoing thing. It's got to become engrossed in the culture of the school. It's engrossed in kind of the culture of the program. So I'm really kind of looking to kind of establish that with follow-up training. You know, as part of the change cycle, there's pieces that will kind of go on from it. So, in general, that is what I would piggyback the PD on in inclusion. I would go through the steps. I would have some kind of different avenues, YouTube videos, co-pilot, pilot chairs, have some more engagement, have something interactive. Like I said, in general, I don't want to be the one that talks for an entire PD. I don't think it's as effective as peer-to-peer learning. And we even learn that with some of our peer-to-peer strategies with ELS, English Language I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.